What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to Model Airplane Review. It's your host, Ray. In today's video, I'll be reviewing the Gemini 200 Interjet Airbus A321NEO. In this video, I'll talk about the box, then the model itself, and at the end of the video, I will give my personal opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. That being said, here we go. Starting off with the box is a standard issue Gemini 200 narrow body box at 23 centimeters lengthwise and height-wise, and 7.5 centimeters wide. I'll show you around the box now. So here's the front, bottom, right side, top, left side, and the back side. Take a moment to read this if you'd like to, and if you even can. And back here you can see that this is a 2020 release. Once you open up the box, you get the model fully assembled, painted, and ready to go, and a mediocre display stand. Whatever you do, I strongly suggest you do not use this display stand because half of the time it doesn't fit in the model, and it's also very flimsy and small to support a model of this size. So if you choose to buy this model and you want to display it on a display stand, I highly recommend purchasing a separate display stand on the side to accompany this model as well. Before I begin my review, I'm going to give you a quick 360 of the model. So the fuselage length is 23 centimeters, wingspan is 17.5 centimeters, and it's about 6.5 centimeters tall. Accurate to 1:200 scale and decently sized for a model. This model is also quite heavy for its size because it's made primarily out of die-cast metal. Starting up the review with the fuselage, here we can see the nose. Nose shape on this model is pretty bad, to put it lightly. The nose is just the incorrect shape. This is the nose cone is definitely too pointy. It should be a bit more rounded, and it shouldn't be as far out extended. And up here, I think this curve is accurate. It's just the bottom section of the nose here. It's way too stretched out. The Gemini 1:200 scale A321 mold, the fuselage shape and the nose shape really aren't all that good. Mostly the nose shape. So that's one of the major drawbacks of this model and the mold in general. Aside from that, everything else seems to be in check. Cockpit window printing might be a little bit off. I can kind of see it slants down with this window, then slants back upwards. I think it should all be straight. We can check that later. But aside from that, we've got a decent selection of painted and printed detail. As zooming down the fuselage, we can see the Interjet title and the livery design. It looks pretty good so far. I do notice a bit of a difference in the gray here. I think this is supposed to be the same gray, but you can kind of see where the line goes for the, I don't think this is a cheat line, but it is the line that goes down the fuselage. So yeah, a little bit of an inconsistency here as well, but small imperfections, nothing too crazy. And here's the back. Here's the vertical stabilizer. It looks pretty good. Lots of detail up here. We've got the Interjet logo. The overall shape looks good. The rudder is clearly defined, and we also have this metallic section right here. It looks pretty good and no complaints. Alright, so on the right side we have a few more imperfections. Looks like we had some trouble with the paint application here. You can see a bit of inconsistency with the line right here. Maybe if my camera would focus. There you go. Alright, now you can see it a little bit better. Nothing too crazy, but something I did notice. Also, we appear to have some mold issue with the rudder here. You can see a bit of chipping there. Now I'm going to move down the right side. I won't provide much commentary, but everything I've said about the left side can also be applied to the right side, including the issue with the nose shape. So everything over here looks pretty solid except for that nose shape. Moving up to the wings are pretty nicely detailed. You can see a great selection of detail to go around. Printed detail looks okay. All the painted detail looks pretty good as well. Control surfaces are clearly outlined. There's no paint filling issues there. Very good all around, very impressive. On the right wing, it's pretty much the same thing, except the aircraft's registration is there. Bit of a personal note, I actually got to fly on this exact aircraft in the summer of 2018, so that's why I have this model in my collection. Then it looks pretty cool. On the bottom of the wing, there's no printed detail, just molded detail. You do get I think these are the flat fairings. The back ends are painted red, which is accurate, so that's a nice detail. And on the bottom of the left wing, we've got the aircraft's registration again as well. Very nicely done in terms of detail here. As for the sharklets look pretty good. Shape is accurate. They're pretty well defined. I'm very picky with my winglets and sharklets, and these are pretty solid. A decent amount of detail on there. On the inside, we do have the Interjet logo. You can see it right there. That looks good as well. No complaints. Here's that horizontal stabilizer section. This looks pretty good. This is the rear section. I should refer to it as that. But yeah, this looks pretty good. No complaints. Decent amount of detail here as well. I do see a bit of a bubble here. This is a paint bubble. Definitely a first. So something to keep in mind. Down here, not much to see. Just looks pretty good with the APU access doors. As for the APU itself, it looks pretty solid. It's just a solid section with a bump. Usually I do expect some sort of indentation for the exhaust, but I guess this model doesn't have that. Moving on to these big old engines, the engines look pretty good. The exhausts, you can see, are painted in different shades of metallic gray. These look pretty good. Engine pylons seem to be accurate. Yeah, it seems to be good. I thought this was a giant paint chip for a second. I got scared there. The engines themselves are pretty nicely detailed. We've got both engine strakes on either side, looking pretty good. Bottom side doesn't really have any printed detail. It's kind of a surprise. Usually, I'm used to seeing printed detail down here, but I'm not sure if there's supposed to be any down here. So I'll let you make that judgment on your own. As for the fan blades and the fans, these are very nicely detailed. We've got a spinner spiral there. This spinner spiral is inaccurate to this aircraft, though. Or is it? I'm not 100% sure, actually. No, Geez, I can't remember. And even worse, I sat in the front of the airplane and I got a straight view into the engine, so I'm not sure if this spinner spiral is inaccurate. I'm pretty sure it's actually accurate. Just take back what I said there. But yeah, they do spin. As you can see, if you blow into them, they will spin. It's very nice. So that was the left side. Here's the right side. Spinner spirals aren't exactly aligned with the center, but the fact that they're there, I think that's enough. That's pretty good. In terms of aerial details, this model features antennas, sat domes, and lights. So we've got a decent selection of antennas at the top of the aircraft. We got a large, I think this is a VHF or UHF. I'm pretty sure it's a VHF antenna at the front section of the plane. And we move down and we run into one of our 3D lights. This looks pretty good. It's just a very small piece, but it's there. And as we move to the rear section, we get a bit more. Get another big antenna, then a shorter antenna, but a little bit wider, and then our sat dome. Sat dome looks pretty good. I'm pretty sure it's the right shape and no complaints. At the bottom of the aircraft, we've got some more antennas and details. Originally, I thought this was a paint chip, by the way. I'm just saying this because some of you might think it's a paint chip. This is just a printed detail. Don't worry about it. But yeah, down here, we've got a bit more of antenna selection. We've got a very small one here, painted gray. This looks pretty good. Down here, we've got one of our 3D lights right in front of the display stand hole, but it's there. Looks pretty good. And back here, we've got two antennas. We've got a large antenna at the rear section and a small antenna like the one up front at the very rear section. So pretty nicely detailed all around. Moving on to the landing gear on this model are permanently extended in place. They're pretty detailed. I don't notice anything wrong with them. The wheels are made out of rubber and they roll very smoothly. Very surprising these days for Gemini, especially having been a 2020 release. So the main gears, they roll smoothly. The nose gear also rolls smoothly and it does swivel to rotate. Kind of stiff on that, but I won't complain. I do actually prefer my gear to be straight, but if you do prefer it to swivel, this one doesn't do it as much. Well, okay, now it's doing it. It takes a little bit of loosening, but it does the part. Alright, so here's what I was referring to earlier about how we could observe that cockpit window printing. Here's the front of the plane, obviously. This is the stare down of a lifetime. Here we can examine wing flex, engine clearance, gear balance, all that fun stuff. So cockpit window printing definitely is slanted, as I kind of anticipated. I did notice it was a little bit fishy on the left side of the aircraft. And given that the nose shape is so goofy, I mean, this is kind of expected. Kind of messed up to see. It's not as slanted as other models, but it still is considerably slanted. Holy cow. Yeah, never mind. Forget what I said about not as slanted as other models. It is pretty slanted. Engine clearance is good. Engine seems to be the right size. Gear balance looks okay. I think I did set it down a little bit awkwardly there, so I gotta adjust that. No, unfortunately, that left main landing gear is a little bit tilted. I can fix that, but it is a little bit angled. But yeah, gear balance seems to be okay. Wing flex is within acceptable margins. So at least there's that. And that is the end of my review. Now it's time for my personal opinion recommendation. The issues with this model are issues with the mold itself. Quality control really wasn't an issue with this model, which is definitely surprising. But I always appreciate that. But yeah, mold issues and the nose shape, that's messed up. The cockpit window printing, that falls under quality control issues. That shouldn't have happened. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure you can expect that for this entire release. So yeah. Now for my recommendation, if you really like this aircraft and you want a big model of it, then yes, I do recommend it. But otherwise, I don't think it's really worth it with the mold issues. Depends on how much you're paying for it too. But yeah, if you're willing to put up with the mold issues, then yes, I do recommend it. But if you prefer a bit more accuracy and perfection, then you might be better off with another model. A thing to consider though is that quality control is good with this, except for that cockpit window printing, but the mold issue kind of really sets it down. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more model airplane content. I'm going to spam out as many reviews as possible before I go inactive for school. And yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. Happy collecting. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. See you later.